Star Trek, which is why I really love Deep Space Nine. So let's talk about the best 10 episodes of Deep Space Nine here today. In my opinion, Star Trek was at its best during Deep Space Nine, and there are several reasons for this. The original series set the concept up, the Next Generation really perfected the concept, but Deep Space Nine is when we finally got to go outside the Enterprise, outside of the flagship of the Federation, and explore the world from a different angle. And therefore, for the first time, the Federation and the whole galaxy, the Alpha Quadrant, all that stuff, was more than just the background of these little characters. It was like a whole sandbox world, and we got to play in it. Also, as the Overlooked series, this was a show that really pushed the boundaries and was the only show that really challenged Gene Roddenberry's narrow-minded views about what was right and what was wrong. It generally held to the values of the Federation that Roddenberry and the other people had set up, but for once it was actually challenging things and saying, maybe the Federation isn't right about everything. Maybe this isn't as black and white as we want to say it is.
Maybe these sorts of moral dilemmas don't have solutions that are quite so easy.
Plus, and this is really a matter of opinion, but I still hold it, this crew was the best crew of all I've seen in Star Trek. The best captain, the best starship,
the most competent security officer,
best use of both O'Brien and Worf. I can't wait! So let's waste no more time. This is, again, the top 10 episodes of Deep Space Nine. Let's do this. Number 10. The Section 31 Trilogy. Well, I'm starting with a bit of a cheat, because Section 31 kind of cheats anyway. It fits. Sort of. Shut Up Is My Show. These 3 episodes are not continuous, but they are connected with their themes. They are Inquisition, Inter Arma Silent Legis.
No. It's more like Inter Arma Silent Legis.
Inter Arma Einem Silent Legis.
Or something like that.
And Extreme Measures. This revolves around Section 31, a mysterious subset of Starfleet intelligence that operates on its own, does all the dirty, shady things that no one in Starfleet actually wants to do, and has been around since the start of the Federation.
We don't submit reports or ask approval for specific operations, if that's what you mean. We are an autonomous department.
The only problem I have with Section 31 is that they were introduced too late and too little was done with them. This is an amazing idea. I wanted to see more. I want to see a Section 31 show. Section 31 is the ultimate example of just what we were talking about before. Those dilemmas that don't have an easy solution. Because these episodes are full of mind screws and illusion and tricks and twists, I don't even dare begin to tell you what the plot lines of these episodes are, but check them out.
Oh, I'm not interested in turning you over to anyone.
What? Inquisition is in Season 6, and the other one,
Inter Arma Einem Silent Legis,
and Extreme Measures are both in Season 7. I know this is a little hypocritical for a guy who just said he doesn't want to give things away, but let me tell you about how the war ends with the Dominion. Section 31 created and infected the founders of the Dominion with an artificial disease that would eventually kill them off. This was, as Cisco put it,
genocide committed by people who call themselves Federation citizens.
There's no getting around that. No beating around the bush, no hair splitting, none of that. This is genocide. And you know what? Without this attempted genocide...
You may win this war, Commander, but I promise you, when it is over, you will have lost so many ships, so many lives, that your victory will taste as bitter as defeat.
The Federation might have lost the war, and even if it won, it would have cost many, many, many more lives. Now, granted, this was by defeating Section 31's plans, but at the same time, it was only Odo making the cure available that allowed the Federation to win the war as relatively easily as it did, which was hardly easy, as we'll see very soon. This is just one example of the sort of questions Section 31 raises. If they accomplish good, and if worse things would happen without them doing their job, is it okay that they do these terrible things, or do we reject them on principle? If we reject them on principle, then we're saying it's okay for other people to suffer for what we believe in. But if we don't reject it on principle, then do our principles actually matter at all, or do we throw them away as soon as they become inconvenient? These are not easy answers, and if you have an easy answer, you haven't given enough thought. This is a perfect dilemma, which is why I say Star Trek just needed to do more Section 31 stuff.
London was not an archive. It was a top-secret branch of Starfleet designated Section 31.
No, that doesn't count because he didn't do anything with it. I was excited at first until I saw that we dumped that in favor of...
Lieutenant, I would prefer to discuss this in private.
You prefer not to discuss this at all. That's what you prefer.
Are you really going to do this right now?
Whatever seems to require your undivided focus, I'm sorry, Captain, just 2 seconds, is us.
That. So, the Section 31 trilogy. My pick for number 10.
Lights.
Well, I suppose it makes sense that they'd send Sloan. He does kind of look like death himself, doesn't he?
A hit. You have sunk my battleship.
Excellent! Yeah!
Number 9. The Siege of AR-558. Vietnam in space. Moving on. Okay, let's not move on. Let's talk about this, because this is a really good episode. When this episode aired, the Dominion War had been running for a full season and then some. And now, for the first time, we're going to get down and dirty, not with the relatively clean and easy spaceship fights, but with the ugly side of war.
He's gonna lose his leg. Does that answer your question?
This again shows the flaw of Gene Roddenberry's view that humans are perfect and flawless angels. It really does the humans a disservice, too.
Deprive them of food, sleep, sonic showers. Put their lives in jeopardy over an extended period of time, and those same friendly, intelligent, wonderful people will become as nasty and as violent as the most bloodthirsty Klingon.
This is an ugly and unpleasant episode, and it's supposed to be, because it's about an ugly and unpleasant thing. War. But instead of something like Janeway's trite little...
There are always alternatives to war.
We actually see war, in its necessity and its bitterness. We don't sit there and refuse to fight because we're above it all. We get down there and we fight. And we suffer all the terrible things that happen because of it. Again, Dax points out one of these moral dilemmas.
It's just that a few hours ago we thought of these mines as the kind of ruthless weapon only the Dominion would use. But now...
They become a whole lot friendlier.
And again, no easy answers. Do we use the devices that we thought were evil and immoral? Or do we let them kill us because of our principles?
It's a question that's worth asking and exploring the potential answers for it.
This was a great victory. One worthy of story and song. It cost enough.
War. It's fantastic.
Number 8. Treachery, Faith, and the Great River. I love Weyoun. Well, I just love Jeffrey Combs. But between Weyoun and Dukat, Deep Space Nine had some of the best villains ever.
You're defecting.
And thanks to this episode, we're going to finally see what happens when one of our villains becomes a good guy.
You know what I'm doing is right.
A real good guy. The episode is all about Weyoun defecting to the Federation. We find out a little bit more about the Vorta, more about the Dominion, but most importantly, we learn more about Weyoun and his relationship to Odo, and therefore all the Founders. For me personally, this episode was sort of a vindication, because I'd always thought that Weyoun was actually not that bad of a guy. Okay, he does bad things and all, I'm not trying to say he doesn't. He's a villain, but at his core, he could be a hero.
It depends on how you look at it.
Weyoun is really all about loyalty and service. If he had a better master, he could be a better person.
There are millions upon millions of worlds in the universe. Each one filled with too much of one thing and not enough of another.
It's called economics, Chief. You're in the Federation, I don't expect you to understand it. But real people get it. Number 7. Things past. I'll admit, when I first started watching Deep Space Nine, when they would go back to the Bajoran occupation, I usually rolled my eyes and got bored. Because I was young and I didn't appreciate just what the occupation was all about. Oh, I knew it was supposed to be a Nazi Germany kind of thing and all, but I was removed from it. Now, the occupation episodes are some of the best episodes they have. You can almost say that this episode stands in as the best of all the episodes where we flash back to the occupation. Somehow, Sisko, Garrick, Dax and Odo are flung back in a sort of quantum leap style where they're in the bodies of someone else, and there are 4 Bajorans trapped on the station during the Bajoran occupation. They experience firsthand what they had heard about for so many years, and especially for Garrick, who begins the episode thinking that the occupation wasn't all that bad, he learns the harshest lesson. Except for maybe one person. But I'll save that till the end so you can actually see what's going on.
If you've killed one of the spoonheads. Spoonheads? Correct.
Oh, I can do that, watch.
This is about the death of millions, you ass!
Moving on. Things passed, showing that tragedy plus time is still tragedy.
How much damage would it do to the timeline if Quark were to suffer a mysterious accident?
I'm not sure, but maybe we should conduct a little experiment.
Number 6. Trials and Tribble-ations. Dear God, was there some effort put into this one. This episode aired in 1996 to celebrate Star Trek's 30th anniversary.
Not only is this a great callback episode, it's also, be prepared for a shock, a great comedy!
I know, rare, aren't they? The crew of the Defiant go not only back to Kirk's time, but to one of Kirk's episodes, The Trouble with Tribbles. See my top 10 TOS episodes for more about that one. This is nostalgia come to life, especially for Dax, who actually lived in this time. Our crew gets dressed up in the old 60s outfits, they get to move around, there's a lot of fish out of water jokes, everyone gets some great moments.
And women were less.
Go on, I'm listening.
I lied to Captain Kirk. I wish Keiko could have been here to save him.
They are Klingons, and it is a long story.
I could be destined to fall in love with that woman and become my own great-grandfather.
Oh my God!
Lieutenant
Benjamin Sisko, sir.
Okay, 3 things are possible from this. Either everything will implode from their badassery, they will fight to the death, or they will start making out. Place your bets. Which one are they going to do? Place your bets. And plus the story's pretty good too. Even more so if you know the Trouble with Tribbles. I couldn't even begin to count how many references to the original series there are in this. Trials and Tribble-ations, because a good episode deserves going back to again.
Close that door.